All right, welcoming into the Collegiate Tri Spotlight today, Coach Miles Fowler of Queen's University. First year with the club program out there, taking over an already strong national level program. Coach, welcome into the spotlight.
Oh, thank you, Brian. Thank you for the introduction.
Absolutely, and congratulations on kicking off your tenure there at Queen's with the overall national championship at Club Nationals last week.
Yeah, it was a fantastic weekend. We talked about it all year long, and having it be towards the end of the school year, I think we were all ready to do it. I knew everybody was fit and in good spirits, and so yeah, it was nice to finally rock and roll.
So, quick recap. This year, your men took the championship on the men's side. On the mixed team relay, you were second in a close race. 10 seconds separated you from the Cal team that was the MTR champs. In total, you took the overall. How many in a row is that now for Queens Triathlon?
Oh, it's back to back. We won last year in 22, and then again in 23, and then we had our first one was in 2019.
Okay.
And every time we won the overall, the men have won the men's title, and then we won the overall along with that. We had been undefeated in the MTR since 2018. So hats off to Cal, for a great race. That was probably by all accounts, not just my own, one of the most exciting triathlon races I think, everyone there had ever seen. I've never had a race like as a coach watching a race, I've never had it impacted me, as if I was in the race. And I mean, my heart rate was 180 and I felt like I was going to throw up watching the race. It was so intense and exciting. But yeah, it was awesome.
I wonder how much TSS that was coaching that.
I don't even want to know. I was tracking my steps every day. I think every day at nationals was about 30,000 plus steps. So, whatever that equates to, it was a lot.
No loss of fitness for the coach.
Absolutely.
So, what was it like making that jump from you were with the program, you were involved with athlete development, but taking over the reins this year? How was that for you?
Oh, well, I mean, it's been kind of a natural, I guess, staircase at this point. I don't know if you know this, but I was on the team from 2016 to 2020, yeah, as a student athlete myself. Kind of made a pivot, due to the pandemic with what I was going to do, after undergrad. I came back to Queens in pursuit of my MBA, which, I'm still, plugging along at. And then came on as a grad assistant, then was promoted to be a full-time assistant. And then with Queens shifted this past summer from Division 2 to Division 1. And with that shift, Sonny got promoted to director of triathlon and head coach of the NCAA women, and I got promoted to be the head coach of the club squads, both men and women. So it's been a fun transition. It feels kind of like a natural progression. I think the coaching side actually hasn't changed a whole lot from what I was doing as an assistant with, like workout prescription or having meetings with athletes and, explaining, where we are and where we're going. But the biggest learning curve has probably been, more of the administrative side and doing all that, without, um, having it all come through Sunny first. Sometimes, I'm the guy at the forefront of that sometimes. But yeah, it's been fun so far.
Well, I actually have been aware of you. Working at a nearby school, I've had a chance to kind of watch you work, but my primary contact was through your former head coach, and he's a good friend of mine. So I've also been privy to some insights, and he's done some bragging on you over the years. So I knew, and he was, the first one to say you were going to be successful in this role as soon as the time came for you to take it on. So that's proven to be true. Tell me a little bit about what you did with the squad this year to get them ready for nationals.
Um, yeah, I think this year we had a relatively new and young team. I think, just under half of our squad was brand new this year. And then, on the men's side of things, our four scorers in the Olympic were entirely different than they were last year. And they were, a freshman, a sophomore, a junior, and a senior this year. So the depth is there, and only one of those men graduates. This year was, all about embracing consistency, getting the new guys, up to speed, and having been in the collegiate system for about 7.5 years now. I kind of had a good sense of what worked when I was there, what didn't work, how can I take on everything that I've learned through studying over the years versus training to the environment. I think the number one thing is training in the collegiate medium is very different from any other environment. You might have a kid that is used to doing 20-25 hours a week on their own, or over the summer, and they come to university in that environment, and that life stress isn't different from training stress in your body. Cortisol is cortisol, so that can be a pretty big learning curve. And so that 20 to 25 hours a week drops down to maybe 16, 17, 18, and they got to build back up as they learn to take care of themselves for their first time as freshmen. Mom and dad aren't there to do your laundry anymore. You got to hold yourself accountable, and things like that. So it was about coaching them in the collegiate medium, embracing consistency, and really just kind of building my own trust with the team. Being fairly young myself, I turned 25 back in March, so I'm probably the youngest coach most of them have ever had. And it's been fun being in this position so far.
That's awesome, and it's interesting because you take on the mantle of a program that's the defending champ. You kind of take that baton from Coach Dyer as he transitioned into his new role, but you didn't necessarily start with a lot of momentum. It sounds like you had to develop a whole new squad, and not necessarily bringing the kind of experience and seasoning that somebody might have expected from a Queen squad.
Yeah, I mean, all the credit goes to our student athletes. I mean, they are on a whole nother level. I mean, the group of guys and young women that came in this year were phenomenal. I often talk about how when I was on the team, if you rated everyone based on how serious they took triathlon on a scale from 1 to 10, 10 being I want to go all in, professional Olympian type of deal, and 1 being I'm just here to socialize and exercise. The teams I was on were probably 4 and a 5 on average, and that's including everybody. And I mean, the team that we have now is probably about an 8 or a 9. I mean the just the professionalism that they all carry, and they all do the right things, and take care of themselves, and they've been a dream to work with. So kudos to them.
Well, you have a program that has turned out quality athletes over the years, so you're going to attract that type of persona, and that's a credit to you guys and what you've built. Who surprised you this year? Were there any athletes? You actually get to see them every day, so I'm sure their capabilities. But did anyone step up in the big race and do a little bit more than maybe you expected?
Yeah, I think our guy that was second overall in the Olympic this past year is a guy named Alejandro Dominguez. He goes by the nickname Aleko. He was a guy that I think he was third overall in the junior elite podium coming into Queens. And I could kind of tell that based off of some workouts, I said this guy might be really good at Olympic distance non-draft racing, and stepping up from that junior elite series. And I mean, he was, I don't remember all the numbers off the top of my head, but we had a guy named Joshua Burrows who got the contract from Waterfall Racing to move out to Boulder and train with Julie Dibbins and those people. And he was our number one guy heading into the season. I say number one, there's, Olympic distance we did this past year.
Mhm.
Didn't have the best conference race he wanted. He had some foot issues and got sick the week of the race, but I believe he was still top 10 or maybe 12th, just outside of it. And then to, absolutely ball out at, collegiate nationals. I've got a lot of guys that are really talented at the draft legal sprint distance. And so it was probably the most difficult decision we've made in years of who to put, in the DL race versus, who are we going to keep fresh for the Olympic. And I told I sat down with the Leco, and I told him that I really think he's going to have an incredible Olympic distance race, and that's why I'm going to keep him fresh for it. And he was second overall, so the roll of the dice played off. But yeah, coming in as a freshman and being second in the country, not a no pressure there for next year, right?
Well, a few minutes ago, you mentioned building trust with your athletes. Having some insights like that, making a call like that, and then have it pan out. That's a great way to build some trust for future years. So kudos to you on that as well, Coach. On the girls' side, your young women. Anybody surprise you over there?
Yeah. We had a small but mighty roster coming in. We had 7 women in the race. And I don't know if I think everybody kind of performed how I thought they would. And a couple bumps in the road, but kudos to Kati Krosta and Yana Malat for doing the triple. I asked them to do all 3 races, and they kind of knew going in they had the most draft legal experience of the rest of the women's roster. And yeah, just embracing that and going all in, and having both of them lay it all on the line day after day after day was just for the betterment of the team, was something incredible to watch. And it was awesome to have all those emotional moments after the MTR on Sunday, and all the hugs and things like that. But yeah, I mean, kudos to them. I wouldn't say it was surprising, but I was impressed how they came in and day out, ready to go every single day, just locked in. I was, I knew they would be that way, but I was even, impressed by how they handled all of that.
I've had a chance to watch those two compete over the years. They've been with the program now for a while, and big time contributors, and no surprise that they came up big for you in the championship. What excites you about the future?
Ooh, um, I think just continuing this momentum, bringing in the next, class of, young men and women, and, getting them into the Queen's, environment, and continuing our successes. Like I said earlier, we, out of our guys that scored in the Olympic, we only graduate, one. So, a lot of guys are returning and coming back, and, I'm excited just to keep building on what we've done here. It was, I think, not only was a lot of people new this year, but it was, I believe, on average, the youngest squad age wise, since I was on the team. So to, do it with a group, a younger squad, and, especially when you throw me in, as the coach, to have, just a young group go out there and, handle themselves how they did, it makes me immensely excited for what's to come in over the next few years.
I've been in the sport a while, and you've been around it long enough to know that the big age groups tend to be up there in years. So it is exciting to see some youth in leadership, as well as on the competitive side, really rising and elevating the sport. So that's cool for all of us to
Yeah.
see that. So you guys battled with Cal, one of the big UC schools. There, I don't know what their student population is, but I can certainly say there's no comparison between UC Berkeley's student population and the Queen's University student population. You couldn't be more different. You're on opposite sides of the country, but consistently coming to battle at the championship, going head up, just really performing at a high level, both the programs. What do you think makes Queens special? What allows you to compete at that level with an institution so much larger? That they're just coming from the opposite side of the country, and in a lot of ways probably coming at it from their own unique angle. But what allows Queens to consistently compete at a high level?
Yeah, that's a great point. I believe if Queens is not the smallest Division I school in the country, I think we might be, we're either the smallest or the second smallest. That was a statistic that was taught to us over this past summer. Um, but I think having been such a successful athletic department as a whole in Division II, that basically led the way for us to go Division I, and make that shift. I think the aura of excellence that surrounds us, day in and day out, with Queens athletics, is it rubs off. The way that they've embraced triathlon, over the last 8 years, having Sonny, basically. I think the first time he sat down, with everybody, they were like, "Oh, what kind of numbers do they wear? What positions do they play?" And so he was kind of like, "Okay, like we've legitimately got to start from square one." I think
Yeah.
the first bit of Queen's triathlon gear had the extra A, so like triathlon in it. And so it's just been a fun journey, teaching the school about triathlon. And even to this day, some of our administrators come down, and they see the team working out or racing and things like that, and they're just immensely impressed that, this special group of athletes comes here and they, embrace being, a triathlete, at the university level. It's definitely not easy whatsoever, to be not just elite at one sport in college, but to embrace three that make up into one, and to take a sport that is traditionally so individual and have it come together. And instead of racing for just me and like my home federation and my last name that's on my back, I'm going to race for Queens, the team, the name that's on the front now. It's the culture of racing for one another that Sonny has built over the years, that I've been able to keep the ball rolling with that. And having them, see them day in and day out embrace one another and come in and with the young group, learning each other and learning that we are better as a team than we are individually. I don't think we broke the tape in a single race last weekend, and still were able to win the overall thing. So it's really the nature of the team, the aura of excellence. I think the Queens swim team in Division II won 7 men's and women's swim titles in a row. So that pool has seen a lot of success, a lot of very fast swimming. And, just for, Sonny and I to come in and to be mentored, by everybody that helped build that, and to, keep the ball rolling. That's what, makes us special. And, we don't plan on going anywhere anytime soon.
Well, and don't forget about track and field. Your track and field and cross
Oh
country
yeah,
programs have had a ton of
absolutely.
success. Yeah. There's so much success there. It'd be easy to forget.
Yeah,
So
we could
somebody
spend
out.
an hour talking about all the successes of Queens athletics.
You,
But
you
we're
probably have
happy.
a shorter conversation talking about the programs that have struggled, because I don't even know if there are any.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, well, it's obvious the program's in great hands. The future's bright there. Young lineup, a solid coach installed there to carry that baton and elevate the program to an even higher level. So, congratulations again on your success this year, and good luck moving forward.
Thank you so much.